And if you look at the stats, and I know we talk about stats a lot in football, but this is a really big stat. Villa win 10% of their games without Tyrone Mings in their team. For me, he's one of them dominant players that wins the first ball in, which is, you can say sometimes his defending's not great and all the rest of it. But if you've got a player that wants to stop the ball from bouncing and head it before the attack even starts, that takes away a lot of problems.
But that doesn't necessarily make him captain material.
I'm not. Listen,
but that's what this is all about.
I thought
it's more than that. It's about even playing. He's not even playing now.
Yeah, but I thought the statement which Tyrone Mings came out with afterwards, saying it'll be an honour to play under John. I understand the manager who's coming. He's had a look at the squad. He feels John will be a better captain. I'm happy with that. I'll be honoured to play underneath him. He did everything right with that, and I think Steven even come out and said like he's accepted it in a good way.
Steven actually turned around and said this: when he comes and looks at me in the eye and talks to me in a certain way, then he'll get himself back in the fold. There is nothing more damning. I don't know what Graham was on about in terms of diplomacy there. Steven Gerrard went straight for the jugular. Yeah. When he comes and looks at me in the eye, we'll have a conversation about the circumstances, which basically means he's not looking me in the eye. He's not much of a man.
Well, he's 6'5", so I don't know.
Come on, don't be silly about the logistics of him looking me in the eye. The actual connotation behind it is that he doesn't have the substance to do it.
Yeah,
and I think he's right. I mean, Graham's gone beyond it. You've got two managers. You've got Gerrard as a current manager. You've got Souness, who's a historic manager, but has managed at the highest level. Both from Graham, don't fancy him. There has to be something in it. You with a certain mentality going, I'd have him, but you've got a guy that's managed some of the biggest clubs in the world. You've got a guy that's managing the biggest club, one of the biggest clubs in Scotland, if not the biggest club in Scotland, and then you've got me managing Villa. And you've both of them are gone. Don't fancy him.
So I've been to commentate on Aston Villa games quite a few times last season. So I look at the shape, I look at the personnel who's playing in both teams. Steven Gerrard, I don't understand why he's not playing Tyrone Mings, because he's the most dominant
poor defender.
He's the most dominant header of the ball in that defence. And also, two, why is he not playing the boy up front?
Watkins,
Ollie Watkins, because if you don't play,
he dropped him for one game.
Do you think
he's dropped him for a few games, and the same thing happens every time?
But Trevor, Tyrone must be wondering why the captaincy's been taken off.
Every time you don't play with a player like Ollie Watkins who can turn teams.
Maybe he's not at it in training.
What happens is the team that you're playing against squeeze up to the halfway line, tell you to try and pass through the press and take the ball off you, and that's exactly
let's push back on that then. Let's say that Ollie Watkins that's his best version of Ollie Watkins, but he's actually not doing that in training, so he's not meriting being picked. You're saying when Ollie Watkins plays, he does this, but if he's not at it, he doesn't get an opportunity to do it, does he? Because the training will determine the outcomes.
And then you're questioning Gerrard's tactical ability.
Tyrone Mings was like a neutered dog when he gave that speech out. I mean, I thought it was pitiful. If someone had given him a line to read out, I'd been honoured to pay for John McGinn.
What do you want him to do? What do you want him to do?
Say nothing. Say nothing. Well, it's not being honoured to pay for John McGinn. It's a disappointing dynamic.
Then people are just going to say what
the manager's made a choice. I respect it. End of discussion.
So it was pretty much that's what he said.
But the bottom line is, he's not only not now captain, he's now out of the team. Souness talks about it yesterday, going, I'd have the same issue with him. I don't like the way I'd have an issue with the way he speaks. I don't know what he said for Graham to provoke that reaction, but there must be something that Graham's heard. And also, I've watched him on the pitch and like his body language. So, and Graham is the first person to say football's bleeding simple. You win the ball, win the first ball. By your logic, Tyrone Mings does precisely that. He wins the first ball. But Souness is sitting there going, I'm gonna go against my own logic of the football's a really simple game. Win the first ball, get the ball to your own players and play. Right. So Souness is going to ignore that and say, actually, I'm going to ignore my own advice and I'm going to go against that. Mings isn't fancied by an ex-manager and isn't fancied by a current manager. Look at Mings. Look at his performances last year. He got murdered by mobile centre-forwards last year. He got murdered by people. And I think he's getting precisely what he deserves.
Having said that, if you make a decision as Gerrard made, and then you go on to lose a bunch of games,
well, then you reap the whirlwind.
And obviously, the writing's on the wall after what happened down at Bournemouth.
I think if you ask Aston Villa fans, they'll tell you they want Ollie Watkins in the team because he can stretch the opposition, and they want Tyrone Mings because he has been an absolute unit for them at the back for years.
When you lose a game, whatever else wasn't picked is what you'll need.
Don't worry about the game they've just lost. Look at last season when Tyrone wasn't playing.
And I looked at him last season when they were playing. And I think he's a poor defender, and I think he's gotten found out, and I think Gerrard knows it. And I think they brought another player in, and they'll be better off without him. And if Mings wants to prove everybody wrong, away you go, son.
Souness and Gerrard think the same, Trevor. I mean, it's got to tell you something.
Well, it tells me they've got an opinion of him, which they have. I've seen him first-handed. I've commentated on him. I watched the games. I watched the performances. I think he should be playing in that team.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.